David. Years ago, I worked the night shift at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. This was before security cameras were everywhere, before every inch of every building was watched. Sure, security systems existed, but in that place, they weren't a priority. The owner, he was cheap. Most nights, it was just me. From 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., alone. The store hardly saw any traffic. The hardest part of the job wasn't the customers, it was the owner. We argued over the same things, night after night, like he couldn't remember yesterday. But the job itself? Easy. Too easy. One night, deep into those endless, miserable hours, I was leaning against the counter, flipping through a magazine, trying not to fall asleep. The store was silent, except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzing above. Then, the door chimed. I looked up. A man had walked in. Tall, early 30s, athletic build. At first, I thought he might have been a former athlete. Someone normal, someone familiar. And then, I saw the blood. He was covered in it. A massive splatter across his chest, streaks down his arms, smears across his face. There was so much, my brain couldn't process it. Almost like paint, but it wasn't. What shook me more were his eyes. Empty. Not angry, not panicked, just blank. Calm, almost bored. Like walking into a gas station at 2 a.m., covered in blood, was completely normal. I froze. I couldn't stop staring. He noticed, and then he smiled. "Don't worry," he said calmly. "It's not my blood." That didn't help. My mind went straight to one terrifying thought. He had just killed someone, and maybe I was next. But instinct kicked in. I nodded like he'd just made small talk, buried my face back in the magazine. He wandered through the aisles, casually, like nothing was wrong. Grabbed a few random items. Then, he came to the counter. I rang him up without meeting his eyes. He paid in cash. And then, he left. The door chimed, and he was gone. The second I heard a car start outside, I grabbed the phone, called 911. My heart, it was racing. I was mid-sentence describing him when the door chimed again. It was him. Fury burned in his eyes this time. Not calm, not bored. Rage. I hung up, but it was too late. He had seen me through the window. He stormed to the counter, demanded to know if I had called the police. I denied it. He didn't believe me. His voice grew louder. The emptiness in his eyes replaced by something primal. Before I could react, he launched himself across the counter. Not climbed, launched. We hit the floor hard. Within seconds, he was on top of me, choking me. My world shrank to panic, fear, the burning pressure in my throat. I had never fought before. I thought I was going to die. I kicked, scratched, thrashed, anything to survive. I could feel the blood on him, smearing onto me, sticky, warm. In desperation, I screamed, "I have a gun!" A complete bluff, but it worked. He froze, then scrambled off, ran out the door. I lay there on the floor, shaking, covered in blood, mine and someone else's. listening to his car speed away. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They took my statement, left to search for him. I never heard from them again. Nothing on the news. Nothing. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. He was already inside the building. He had the access code.
Access granted.
He cut the power, and he was climbing the stairs, one floor at a time. Not every monster hides in the dark. Some of them wear masks. Some of them know the building better than you do. Tonight, 3 real security guards share the shifts that changed them forever. The nights they realized they were never alone. This is the Cursed Owl, and every word of this is real. I've been in this industry for 6 years, long enough to earn my seniority, long enough to know what a normal shift feels like, and exactly what one doesn't. I have more training than most of the guards I work with, more credentials, more experience. Because of that, I get to choose my shifts, and I never choose overnights. But a few months ago, that changed. The company picked up a new contract, a government building, 6 stories tall. The location was strange, even for a government facility. It sat in the middle of nowhere, a 6-story concrete structure surrounded by a massive parking lot, enclosed by a 10-foot metal fence, topped with barbed wire. One way in, one way out. The side road leading to it stretched 3 miles from the main highway. Thick woods pressed against the fence on every side. No houses, no traffic, no lights, except the building itself. At night, it felt like the rest of the world stopped existing beyond that fence. Because of my seniority, I normally worked mornings or evenings, weekends off. But after a few months on this contract, we started losing overnight guards. People just didn't want to stay, especially on weekends. The overnight weekend shift was 1 guard, alone. My supervisor asked me to help out temporarily. I needed the money, new apartment coming up, so I said yes. I really should have said no. The first 2 weekends were completely fine, nothing unusual, nothing out of place. But the third weekend is what I still think about. It was Saturday, around 2 in the morning. A severe thunderstorm had moved in. Heavy rain, thunder shaking the walls of the building every few minutes. I was in the camera control room on the 6th floor. Lights off, just me, the monitors, and the sound of rain hammering the windows. I was doing what most overnight guards do when they're alone at 2 in the morning. Phone propped up, movie downloaded, Game Boy on the desk beside me. After sitting for a while, I got up to stretch, walked over to the window, pulled the blinds back slightly, just watching the storm, wind tearing debris across the parking lot, rain coming down in sheets. I was about to walk away and grab an energy drink when lightning struck. For 1 split second, everything outside lit up white, and I saw it. A figure, darting between 2 trees, beyond the fence, maybe 20 feet from one to the other. I didn't move. I stood at that window, staring into the darkness, waiting for another flash of lightning. It came. Nothing there. I told myself I was just tired, that my eyes were playing tricks. So I walked away, went down the hall, downed the energy drink and the time it took to walk back. 5 minutes. I got back to the control room and immediately noticed it. One of the camera feeds was out. The camera covering the back parking lot. The exact area I had been watching through that window. I went to the window, looked through the blinds in the direction of the camera. It was hanging off its post, swinging in the wind, dangling by its wires. I told myself the storm knocked it loose, wrote it in my report, sat back down. Then the system beeped. Access alert. Someone had entered a code at the back entrance. I pulled up the access log. Green light. Someone was inside. It wasn't a worker. It wasn't another guard. I grabbed the desk phone. Dead. Checked my cell. No signal. I left the control room, started walking the hallway, holding my phone up, searching for any signal at all. And then, the building went dark. Everything, all at once, pitch black. I ran for the stairwell. Get to the truck, just get to the truck. The stairwell was nearly pitch black. I used the darkness as cover, moved quietly. I figured whoever cut the power had come from the generator room, in the basement. The basement was one floor below the lobby, which meant they were below me, between me and the exit. I made it down to the 4th floor. Then I heard it, a door opening. Below me. I stopped. Then I heard them, footsteps, heavy, deliberate, getting louder, coming up the stairs. I turned around, started moving back up, quiet, as fast as I could without making a sound. My plan, get back to the 6th floor, past the door. There's a ladder, leads to a roof hatch. I'd climb up, hide in the darkness, wait. Then, my gun hit the railing. A loud metallic clang echoed through the entire stairwell. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. 1 second, 2, 3. Then they started running. I ran, faster than I have ever moved in my life, up the stairs, floor after floor, lungs burning. At the top, I shoved the 6th floor door open hard, let it slam shut on its own behind me, then sprinted past it to the ladder, and climbed. The diversion worked. I heard him burst through the door, heard his footsteps pound down the hallway. He didn't look up. I dropped from the ladder, 10 feet, hit the floor hard, and ran. He heard it. The door crashed open again. His footsteps thundered back into the stairwell. Both of us, sprinting, full speed, floor after floor after floor. I stayed 1 flight ahead, the whole way down. Then, from somewhere below me, a crash, a cry of pain. I didn't stop. I did not look back. I hit the lobby, slammed through the front entrance, sprinted across the parking lot. Rain pouring, wind howling, hit the fob, engine started, doors unlocked, jumped in. And just as I looked up through the windshield, I saw him, dressed entirely in black, mask, hood, bursting through the building entrance, running straight at my truck. I floored it. Tires screamed against the wet pavement. I didn't stop driving until I reached the main road. I called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later. We searched the entire building, the lot, the surrounding woods. Nothing, until they checked the stairwell, right where the crash had been. A fully loaded, unregistered, semi-automatic handgun dropped on the stairs. To this day, no one knows why someone broke into that building. There was nothing inside worth stealing, but I know one thing. That night, I got lucky. I worked nights in a corporate office building in New Jersey. For the most part, the nights were quiet, boring, uneventful. I almost miss that feeling now. It started just after midnight. The last employees had gone home. The lobby was empty except for me and the blue glow of the security monitors. My job was simple. Check the cameras, run patrol rounds, log incidents, watch for anything unusual. That night, scanning through the feeds, I noticed something on the underground garage camera. A figure, moving between the parked cars. That lot should have been completely empty at that hour. He wasn't heading to any car. He wasn't moving toward the exit, he was just wandering. Slow, deliberate, weaving between the rows like he was inspecting the space. Like he was making absolutely sure no one was watching. I called my supervisor. He told me to stay at my post and watch the cameras. But something was wrong. Something I couldn't name. So I grabbed my flashlight and went down myself. The elevator felt longer than it ever had before. The doors slid open. I stepped out and swept my flashlight across the garage. Empty. Completely, totally empty. The kind of quiet that presses against your ears. I walked every row, called out, "Security!" Checked every shadow between every car. Nothing. I went back upstairs, sat down, told myself the camera had glitched. Then I looked at the garage feed. He was back, standing in the exact same spot. I had just been down there. I had walked that entire garage. There was no physical way he could have gotten back to that spot without me seeing him. Unless he knew I was coming. Unless he watched me the entire time. For the next 20 minutes, I watched him move through the garage. Slow, careful. He drifted toward the stairwell door. And then, just before reaching it, he vanished from the frame. I checked every camera, every hallway, every floor, every exit. Gone. No one disappears that fast. Not without knowing exactly where every camera is pointed. Then the lobby elevator dinged. Doors slid open. Nobody inside. But on the polished lobby floor, wet footprints. Bare feet, leading out of the elevator, across the lobby. Bare feet, in winter, in a building he had no right to be in. He was inside the building. I called for backup, and then, against every instinct, I took the elevator to the 5th floor. Halfway down the hall, one office door was slightly open. It was always locked at night. Always. I pushed it open with my flashlight, swept the room, empty. I stepped back into the hallway and stopped, because I heard them. Footsteps, behind me. Not mine. Heavy, wet, uneven, moving fast. I spun around, swept the flashlight to the far end of the hallway, and there he was. Long, dark coat, standing at the end of the hall. Not running, just walking toward me, slow, purposeful, like he had all the time in the world. And then it hit me. He had been behind me the entire time. Every room I checked, he was just out of sight, waiting for me to turn away, following me. I ran, straight for the stairwell, slammed the door behind me, locked it, pressed my back against it. The footsteps stopped. I sat in that dark stairwell, shaking, listening to nothing but my own heartbeat. When backup finally arrived, we swept every floor, every room, every stairwell, the garage. Nothing. No sign of him. No trace. This happened just a few days ago. My first night as a mobile security trainee. Mobile security means you don't sit in one building. You drive. You respond to sites. You check buildings, disarm fire alarms, run perimeter patrols. That night, my supervisor took me out to a medical clinic in Mississauga. 1:15 in the morning. Routine site visit. But as we stepped out of the vehicle and walked toward the building, something was wrong. The underground parking garage was wide open, and the front door of the clinic shouldn't be possible. Broken, busted open. No alarm, not a single alert from the system. As if whatever had happened here happened in a way the building never registered. We went inside, and then my supervisor grabbed my arm. Look at the elevator. It was moving, on its own. Up from the ground floor, past the 2nd, past the 3rd, and stopped. At the 4th floor, the very top. I asked my supervisor if he thought someone was in there. He pulled out his baton and nodded. In that moment, I hated every decision that had led me to that building. But we got in the elevator and went up. The doors opened on the 4th floor, dark, silent. We turned on the lights and started checking every room. My supervisor told me to stay close, room by room. Nothing. Nobody. Then, from the stairwell directly below us, footsteps. We moved to the stairwell door. My supervisor's hand was on the handle, and then they stopped. Whoever was down there wasn't running. They were waiting for us to open that door. My supervisor keyed his radio. "Dispatch, we need immediate backup. Someone is in the building with us. They're downstairs, possibly armed, possibly waiting to ambush." Dispatch told us to hold position. Do not approach. Backup was coming. 15 minutes, in a dark building, on the top floor, knowing that somewhere below us, something was waiting. My supervisor was scared too. I could see it on his face. I told him backup was coming, not to worry. I don't think either of us fully believed it. Then a voice echoed through the building from below. "Security!" Our senior supervisor. Inside. The three of us swept every floor, every room, every bathroom, every stairwell. Nobody. Not a single person. We were on the third floor when we heard it. The front door burst open. Footsteps, running, outside the building. By the time we reached the ground floor, they were gone. The three of us just stood there, in silence, in a broken clinic at 2 in the morning. No explanation for who it was. No idea how they moved through that building without any of us finding them. Either they found a hiding spot none of us could identify, or that building holds something none of us are ready to explain. I still don't know which one is worse. But I do know one thing. This weekend, I have to go back. Alone. 3 guards, 3 buildings, 3 nights that none of them will ever stop thinking about. They all did everything right. They called for backup. They followed their training. They made it out. But none of them ever fully left those buildings. If you work nights, if you've ever been alone in a building when something felt off, you already know exactly what they're describing. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't go outside. This has been The Cursed Owl. If you've ever worked a night shift, you've probably felt it. That moment when everything goes quiet, and you realize you're completely alone. These stories aren't about ghosts. They're about something worse. Real people with real intentions. And the terrifying part, they were all planned. Tonight I'm going to share 3 true night shift stories where someone was being watched, followed, and almost taken. Make sure you're not alone while listening to this. My name is Cadence. I work the closing shift at a small dive bar in the quieter part of my town. It's right off the highway, with a back entrance that connects to the town. Nothing fancy, just a dimly lit place where the regulars know each other, and the jukebox plays the same classic rock songs every night. Most of our customers are locals, truckers passing through, and the occasional lost tourist looking for a stiff drink. I actually like it. The routine is predictable, the tips are decent, and I've learned how to handle every type of customer. The talkers, the flirters, the quiet drinkers, and the ones who just want to be left alone. Weekends are busy, but during the week, I work alone. No barback, no coworkers, just me. And because of the crowds we attract, I stay vigilant. That's why I noticed him immediately. It was just after 1 a.m. on a Tuesday when he walked in. Late 40s maybe, clean cut, well-groomed, wearing a black turtleneck and a trench coat. He didn't belong here. He had this aura, like quiet money, real money. He scanned the room, then walked straight to the bar. He ordered top shelf without hesitation. While I poured his drink, he smiled and asked if I liked working there. I said yeah, made a joke. He didn't feel creepy, not at all. He felt normal. We talked for a bit, then he asked, "Do you ever think about doing something bigger?" Weird question, but not alarming. I smiled and told him I was happy for now. He looked disappointed. Then, out of nowhere, he asked what time I got off. I gave him a vague answer. He didn't push. He just smiled, like he already knew. Then he placed a crisp $100 bill on the bar and walked out. I figured I'd never see him again. I was wrong. A week later, he came back, but this time, he wasn't alone. The woman with him caught my attention immediately. Mid-30s, dressed trendy, but off, like she was trying too hard. Everything about her felt calculated. She smiled too easily, leaned in too close. The first thing she said to me wasn't a greeting. It was, "You're so pretty." Her fingers brushed my arm, lingering. Something felt wrong. They ordered drinks. She started asking questions. How long I worked there, how old I was. It wasn't small talk. She was studying me. Then she leaned in and said she ran an exclusive event club. Private parties, you'd make a killing, 10 grand a weekend. I told her it sounded too good to be true. She didn't stop smiling. Fun, safe, exclusive. Then she said, "You should step outside. Someone can explain it better." No. Right then, a group of customers walked in. Her expression changed, and without a word, they left. A few nights later, after closing, I saw a car parked across the street, watching. When I drove off, it followed me, turn after turn, still there. So I drove straight to a police station. The second I pulled in, it sped off. Nothing happened for a while. Until one night, she came back. I texted my boss immediately. She walked in, smiling. "Thought I'd come check on you." I told her we were closing. She insisted on a drink. I stalled, waiting for my boss. Then I heard it. The front door click shut. I turned. She was gone. Outside, a black van was idling. I locked the front door. Then the back door started rattling. Someone was trying to get in. I grabbed a metal shaker, dialed 911, then headlights pulled in. My boss. The noise stopped. The van sped off. When police checked the footage, there were masked figures waiting outside. One at the back door, trying to flush me out. The plate was fake. They were never found. I don't work alone anymore, but I still think about it. What would have happened if I ran out that front door? I used to work the night shift at a gas station. Used to. It was around 2:30 a.m. I stepped outside for air. That's when I saw him. A man standing by the pumps. No car, just watching me. He walked in, suddenly, said his car broke down. I offered to call a tow truck. He refused. Then he pointed to the monitor. There was a car, but I had just been outside. There was no car. Then I saw it. Movement. Someone crouching behind it. I smiled, played along, then hit the panic button. The alarm blared. He didn't panic. He smiled. They ran. Both of them ran into the woods. But the car had a third person inside. It was stolen. No suspects, no explanation. I never worked a night shift again. I worked the night shift at a Walmart. Same routine, every night. That's why I noticed him. He wasn't shopping, just appearing, watching me. Then, someone grabbed my arm. A woman, smiling, acting like she knew me. "That's guy been recording you." I looked. He was staring. She told, but she didn't stop. Even we were safe. She kept pulling me, toward the back, toward the exit. No cameras, no people. I screamed, pulled free, and ran. Behind me she yelled, "My name." I never told her my name. Security footage showed. They came in together. It was planned, and I wasn't random. I was the target. These stories make you wonder what's really happening while the rest of the world is asleep. If you've ever worked a night shift and seen something you can't explain, leave a comment below. Stay safe out there, and thanks for watching. I pulled into a gas station off the highway at 11 p.m. and decided to sleep in my truck for an hour. When I woke up, the lot was empty. I got back on the road. 20 minutes in, I heard a thumping sound coming from behind me. I told myself it was just a tool shifting around in the truck bed. Then a deafening crack exploded from directly behind my head. I turned around. A man was standing in my truck bed, smashing the glass divider with one of my tools, trying to get through it, while I was doing 70 on the highway. This happened about 8 months ago. I was heading back from a job site 3 hours from my house. Long day, hard physical work. By the time I got back on the road, it was already past 10. I knew immediately that I wasn't going to make it all the way home. Not safely. I could barely keep my eyes pointed forward, let alone focused. About 45 minutes in, my eyelids started doing that thing where they drift down on their own without permission. I was physically shaking my head, trying to stay alert. I pulled into the next gas station off the highway. Around 11 p.m. I filled up my tank, smoked a cigarette, stood there in the parking lot debating. Still 2 hours of driving ahead of me. No way I was making it. I made the call to take a nap right there and finish the drive after. I drove to the far corner of the lot, turned off the engine. I've slept in worse places. I was out almost instantly. When my alarm went off, it felt like I had blinked. More alert than before, not fully rested. Good enough. I looked around the lot before pulling out. When I'd stopped, there had been at least 2 other cars there. Now the lot was completely empty, just me. I didn't think anything of it. I pulled back onto the highway. For the first 20 minutes, everything was fine. I was zoning out in that pleasant way where muscle memory takes over and you stop having to think about driving. Then I heard something. A faint thumping sound, coming from somewhere behind me. I turned around a couple of times but didn't see anything moving in the back seat. Figured it was something shifting around in the truck bed. One of my tools, something that had come loose during the day. It wasn't worth pulling over. I turned the radio up to drown it out. At some point, I slammed my hand against the dashboard out of frustration. Strangely, the thumping stopped. For about 10 minutes, everything was quiet. And I was actually relieved. Not because the sound had been worrying me, just because it was annoying me. But then my brain caught up to something. A tool or a loose item in a truck bed doesn't stop because you hit the dashboard. An inanimate object doesn't respond to that. So what had I just done that caused the sound to stop? I was turning that question over in my head, trying to find the answer I needed, when a deafening crack exploded from directly behind me. Not a normal sound. Not the kind of sound your truck makes. The kind of sound that makes your hands leave the wheel. I turned around. A man was standing in my truck bed, using one of my tools to smash the glass divider between the truck bed and the back seat. Over and over, moving like an animal trying to claw its way out of a cage. I swerved, not because I decided to. My hands just moved. I lost control of the truck on a highway at 70 miles an hour while a man tried to break through the glass behind my head. I genuinely thought I was going to flip. I thought I was going to die. Somehow I wrestled the truck back under control, skidded to a halt halfway between the lane and the shoulder. I sat there for 1 second, just breathing. Then I ripped off my seatbelt. I don't know what came over me. I'm not brave. I'm not armed. But I couldn't just sit there. I threw my door open and ran around the truck. As I came around toward the truck bed, a man in a hoodie was climbing out. He jumped down and sprinted toward the tree line. I chased him for about 5 seconds. Then every part of my brain caught up. Pitch black. Completely alone out here. No idea if he was armed. Whatever had caused me to run after a man who had just tried to break through the glass behind my head, it ran out very quickly. I ran back to the truck and sped off without looking back. A little while down the road, I pulled over to check the damage. My hands were shaking badly enough that I had to grip the steering wheel just to keep them still. The glass divider wasn't completely shattered, but it was close. One more hit would have taken it out entirely. I climbed into the truck bed to see what he had been hitting it with. Then something else caught my eye. A foreign object sitting in the truck bed that didn't belong to me. A trash bag, wrapped over on itself multiple times like someone had been trying to keep it very secure. Small, about the size of 2 fists, it looked wet. I crouched down to get a closer look, and the smell hit me, rancid, like rotting meat. I didn't want to touch it, but I needed it out of my truck. I grabbed it as carefully as I could and threw it toward the tree line, got back in the truck, started driving. Then I looked down at my hands. They were tinted red. The bag had been coated in something red, all over my palms. I rubbed them on my jeans and drove. That was all I could do. Just drive and try not to think about what was on my hands, or what was in that bag, or why someone had climbed into my truck bed at a gas station while I was asleep and ridden with that bag all the way out to the middle of a dark highway. I never told the police, didn't tell anyone for weeks. The only explanation that makes any sense is that he climbed in while I was sleeping in the parking lot, laid flat in the truck bed for 20 minutes of driving without me seeing him. I've never figured out what was in that bag. I've told myself 100 different things. Food that had gone bad, something from a job site, any explanation that I can live with. But I looked at my hands for weeks after that night and kept seeing red. And I have not napped in a gas station parking lot since. I was working the night shift alone at a 24-hour gym. Around 2 a.m. I noticed a man on a treadmill in the corner, running 9 miles per hour for 15 minutes without stopping. When I walked out to check on him, I saw the treadmill was covered in blood. His feet were bare. They were tearing apart with every step. He didn't stop. He didn't slow down. He just kept staring straight ahead with his mouth open. When I yelled at him to stop, he said in the coldest voice I have ever heard, "Are you there?" This memory still terrifies me. Outside of police and some close family, this is the first time I've fully revisited it. A few years ago, I got my first job at a 24-hour gym. I was in a gap year between high school and college, so I worked a lot of night shifts. The gym was open around the clock, with keycard access only, meaning often there was just 1 or 2 employees on the whole site. Members could check in, use the equipment, and leave. The facility essentially managed itself digitally. All I really had to do was sit in the office, monitor cameras, walk around occasionally, do some light cleaning, and talk to guests. This was in a rough part of town, but for the most part, everyone was friendly. A small gym where regulars tend to know each other. This one specific night, I was working 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Long, boring shift. Around 2 a.m., I had finished all my rounds and paperwork and was sitting at the cameras. Everything was normal. Not many people come in to work out at 2 a.m., but there were a couple of regulars who came and went. I'd been there a few months, so I recognized almost everyone. Except one man. I first noticed him on the treadmill in the far corner. Normally, a new guest wouldn't catch my attention, but something made me look twice. I pulled up his treadmill number in the system, where I could monitor all equipment activity in real time. He was running 9 miles per hour. That's fast. That's genuinely impressive. But what I kept watching for was, he never stopped. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Not once did he slow or take a break or even shift his pace. I leaned closer to the camera feed and looked at him properly. The way I can only describe it is, unsettling doesn't cover it. He was wearing ragged clothes, long, messy hair. His face had not moved a single time in 15 minutes of running, just staring straight ahead, completely still expression, like nobody was home. Then I noticed his feet. He was barefoot, running 9 miles per hour for 15 minutes on a treadmill. Barefoot, just staring into the distance. I was the only employee in the building. He was now the only member remaining. Just the two of us, in a 24-hour gym at 2 a.m. And something about what I was watching on that camera made me not want to go out there. We have a policy requiring shoes. I used that as my reason to leave the office, the professional excuse to go do what I was genuinely afraid to do. I walked out to the floor. The machine he was on was almost directly outside the employee hallway. I turned the corner. The treadmill was covered in blood. His feet were tearing apart as he ran. Not just bleeding, tearing. Blood not only dripping but splattering with every impact of his bare feet on the belt. A growing pool at the end of the conveyor. His face was still completely still, staring straight ahead, mouth open, not looking at me, not looking at the blood, not looking at anything. He looked like he was on every substance simultaneously, and something in my gut told me he was dangerous. I still yelled at him to stop. I don't know where I found that. I had to raise my voice over the sound of his feet hitting the belt. He didn't turn his head. He didn't slow. He just kept running and staring forward with his mouth open. I yelled again, something like, "Hello, what are you doing?" He said, in the coldest, most hollow voice I have ever heard from a human being, "Are you there?" He wasn't out of breath. He wasn't panting. He said it as calmly as if he was sitting still. I told him to stop again several more times. Each time, "Are you there?" Same voice, same tone, same nothing behind the eyes. The pool of blood at the end of the treadmill was growing. I went back to the office and picked up my phone to call the police. Before I dialed, I glanced at the monitors. He was staring directly at the camera, still running, still bleeding, still mouth open, staring at the camera like he knew exactly where it was. I looked away from the screen. Then from outside the office door, he started screaming. Not words, just screaming, at the top of his lungs, so deep it barely sounded human. I watched on the monitor as he stepped off the treadmill without turning it off, and sprinted out of the camera frame. I clicked through every feed looking for him. 1 through 5, empty. Then I checked the employee hallway camera. He was standing 6 feet from the office door. I have no idea how he got into that hallway without a key card. I didn't think about that. I just locked the door. 5 seconds after I locked it, the handle rattled. Then the screaming started again, and the door shaking. I was in the corner of the office on the phone with dispatch, trying to explain what was happening, while a man whose feet were shredded from running barefoot for 20 minutes screamed on the other side of the door with a voice that barely sounded like a person. The dispatcher told me police were 5 minutes out. 5 minutes. I genuinely thought if he got through that door, I was not going to make it. I felt completely helpless, in a way I had never felt before. And I couldn't stop thinking about his voice saying, "Are you there?" like he wasn't even sure I was real. Then the screaming stopped. The door went still. I checked the cameras. He was gone. Every feed. Just gone. No exit recorded. No trace. Just blood on the treadmill and a pool on the floor. And silence. When the police arrived, I made them search the entire building before I would leave the office. They found nobody. I answered their questions and drove home. I quit the next day and have not entered that gym since. I still don't know what he wanted, or what he was, or where he went. I just know that voice asking, "Are you there?" in that flat, empty tone, while blood pooled beneath him, is something I will never fully leave behind.